All right, there we go.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is our third session for Western Dressage Association of Georgia virtual series. And today's about let's get started with intro and basic. I want to introduce you to our WDAGA president, Tamara Steinbrecher. I don't know if she's on there yet, but she was the brainchild that helped to get this going. And you can see a picture of Dana. She's second to the top. She's my co-host and she's our IT girl. So wow, give her a hand. She's amazing. She does our PowerPoint. She gets all this stuff together, all these links for us so we can just get right to it. So it's pretty exciting. I want to get the chat open right away. So get looking for that chat button, guys, because we want to know how many of you went out and tried to deal with getting on a virtual show this fall. And also, we want to hear from how many of you are at intro and basic and are going to be doing some test or writing so we can talk about that. So type in something to us so that in a few minutes we can all talk together, because that would be really fun. So Dana's our technician, and we thank her very much. That we're using our courtesy of Western Dressage Association of America. So thank you all very much. We looked at a lot of their information last time and in last month's talk. So let's get started. So we're going to head right on down here. Oh, tell me that I will be able to run this. I have to go, okay, Dana, what button to push to make it go? You're hard. I can't make the PowerPoint go. Oh, oops, I got too far to the end. Not the second one. Okay, help me out here, Dana. Are you there? You're on mute. Dana's on mute.
Oh, yeah. So you should just be able to click and it will go over. So what's showing for me is the very first slide of the horses that, so we had everybody send some pictures in that are on
the test.
Yeah.
The test, Dana. How about you get the test for us? Or tell me how to get the test.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I didn't have a chance to look at this, so I've got it out of order, folks. Hey, be patient with us. We're learning.
Yeah, if you just click through, you'll get to the test.
Okay, I'm here, Kim Dapp.
There you go. I'm clicking, nothing's happening. Oh dear, how embarrassing. Yeah, this is, can you, yeah, do you want to take, we're too bad because we've just pulled our little surprises. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, we just want to start in with, do you think the other one's backwards, Dana? Because I don't know if, it doesn't really matter. I'm not sure if the intro test is after the basic or how I back up even.
The little arrows should get you back in the left-hand corner on the bottom.
Left, oh, there you go. Let's see if the intro is there. Okay, so
here we go.
Keep checking out the chat for us. Dana, how many people do we have that are interested in intro tonight or doing intro? Do we have a bunch?
Oh, we have, so let me see here. We have Terry, who rides mostly basic. Laura is moving to basic.
Good job.
Basic. Andrea is intro and basic next year. All virtual shows for Andrea.
Good. Good.
Linda giving basic a try and loving it, but haven't shown yet.
Okay.
Tammy is doing intro, basic, and level 3 this year.
Good.
Zoe is intro. And then we have somebody else who rides intro. Kim is intro and just started basic. So we have a lot of intro basic riders today.
A lot of intros. What I want to point out to all of you is at the top of the test is this box right here at the top, which says purpose. And for every level, this is where you begin, is you get the test and you read the purpose. And for intro, it's very clear, and they did a really good job with explaining to us what they're thinking about. Tests provide an introduction to the discipline of Western dressage. The horse performs only at the walk and jog. The rider should demonstrate correct basic position, use of the aids, and understanding of the figures. The horse should show relaxation. The horse accepts the aids and influence of the rider. The jog should be a natural gait within the horse's scope and should demonstrate a swinging back. The interesting thing about tests are all over them, every little thing that is written on them is important. And I'm always saying to people, details in this industry count. Like right below there, can you see this tiny? I don't know if yours is blurrier than mine, but anyway, it's probably because I have old eyes. But all jog work may be ridden sitting or posting. You know, there's a directive that helps you. So the purpose is right here. It tells you what at this level they think is important. Then new requirements, which is this box right here, always tells you anything that's new in that test that they think they haven't introduced to you yet. For example, this says there's a 20-meter half circle at the jog, and the halt is you got to be still, immobile for 4 seconds. Things like sizes of the test can be ridden in a large arena or a small arena. And of course, the small arena is 40 by 20 and large is 60 by 20. So these kind of things, when you move up levels, all of a sudden, when you get to level 1, like it has to be ridden in a large arena, things like that. Now, at the bottom, after the movements is, you know, leave the arena at A in a walk with a looped or long reins. That's another important thing right down there. And although it looks like it's outside of a judging box, that is a directive of how you are to ride the test. And you're technically still in the ring. And that's something to talk about, is while you're exiting the ring, one of the things that we should talk about is etiquette. And if you're in a like, it's one thing if you're online and you got to go and do your tack check. So people usually don't start gossiping and talking and whatever. They go and they do their tack check and they're pretty polite. But the etiquette in a live show is that don't talk. Don't talk with your coach. Don't talk to anybody, because you're still technically in the ring. This directive says I'm still judging until you exit the ring. You're still on my liability. I'm still in control of you as the judge. So whatever's going on. So you don't want to have this loud conversation that says, hey, that was great. I just loved it, blah, 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 blah. You know, save that for the minute that you get outside of the ring. That's appropriate. But in the meantime, the judge is also still concentrating. You don't want to disturb them. And you're still being evaluated. You know, we've actually gotten into difficulties before in regular dressage where somebody's horse either like jumped out of the ring so that they didn't go out in the prescribed manner, and then we had to call the TD and decide if they were going to be eliminated because you're still in the test and you didn't leave the way you're supposed to, or a horse, you know, didn't jump out but it steps out, or a rider falls off after the test but before they get out of the ring. Is that a fall? Does that mean they're eliminated? Because we also have that rule. You are still being judged and a lot of rules still apply to you. And even if you get lucky and the stewards decide they're going to give you a pass, it's really important to keep in mind that you're still being judged. Over here on the back of the paper are their collective marks, and these are gait's freedom and regularity, impulsion, which is the desire to move forward with suppleness of the back and steady tempo, rider's position, which is your alignment, well-placed elastic seat demonstrating vertical centered alignment with light independent contact from hands. Correct and effective use of the aids as evidenced by the horse's responsiveness, steady elastic connection, cultivating athletic expression, accuracy, precise placement of the figures and transitions, and effectiveness of the rider's aids, which determines the accurate fulfillment of the requirements of the movements of the test. Harmony, the horse accepts the aids and the influence of the rider with attention, relaxation, and confidence. A willing partnership between horse and rider resulting in a free-flowing performance. Here's where their scores are going to go and the remarks. Now, the interesting thing is almost nobody reads this center column. which is directives. These are worth reading if you're starting, because let's say the first test says, A, enter working jog, proceed down the center line without halting, and C, track left working jog. And the directives, those directives are what the judge is judging. And it's telling them what they're supposed to be looking at: straightness, regularity, quality of the jog, balance, and bend in the turn. So then, like box 2 is a really good example. EB, half circle left 20 meters working jog, balance and inside bend on the half circle, straightness, regularity, and quality of the jog. And for every single movement, it says exactly what the judges are looking at, what they might be commenting on. They're going to use a lot of these words like balance, and they're going to, like on box 9, it's talking about, does the horse willingly and freely stretch the back forward and down? And you know, in free walk, they're not looking for him to just poke his nose out and stick his head out. They're looking for him to bascule his back and stretch down and over and down. And so this gave you a clue. This right here, the test gave you a clue. It said, did he stretch forward and down? And so horses that only stretch out frequently don't get as good of a mark. That mark isn't as good as a horse that stretches out and down. And it's talking about ground cover. And people are like, yeah, okay, I sort of get that. Ground cover, i.e. a euphemism for over tracking. Does your horse over track, or does it only step into its own tracks? Or is it short tracking? They're looking for horses that are covering ground. And so in the free walk, the more your mark is going to go up. And if it will take long steps and relax and put its neck down and stretch down and forward to the connection or towards your hand when you drop the reins, and show a stretch so that you bascule the back so that the horse relaxes his back and lifts its thoracic while he walks. If the horse does that, that's what they're looking for. So these papers become very, very important. And it's kind of interesting that here in the purpose, in the intro, it's for the first one, I've had several people say to me, well, you know, it seems like it's a little vague. It doesn't say exactly what frame or connection or balance this horse is supposed to be in. And there's a reason for that. We know that people are going to come in from all divisions and begin. And you might have somebody that's like an unbelievable reiner that got retired as a reiner. So this is a real, you know, maybe the horse is flying changes and it does sliding stops, it does all kinds of stuff, but it's been given to a junior and somebody new to Western Dressage. And so they're just going to try out a test, and they come in a walk trot test because, you know, that would be a good idea to kind of try something out. And they're like, okay, that's great. You got this super broke horse, really well trained. And that's an appropriate horse and an appropriate rider to be an intro. But they might be in there with the same test with a young horse that's completely, you know, stargazing and inverted and looking around, and he's, you know, maybe shying a little bit, and because super green horse, maybe 3-4-year-old horse that doesn't really take connection yet and is still learning to steer, but we want to get him in a walk trot test. And that's why I think railbirds that stand around at shows and people who go searching around the internet and they look at the introductory tests and they're like totally confused if they're not already indoctrinated with us. If you're not already in this system, you're totally confused. And okay, you know, this horse looked completely different from that horse. We're going to look at some of that today. We're going to look a little bit at some of the acceptable balances and frames and connections which horses look like in intro. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Right now, we're just going to look over the basic tests while we're looking at tests. Any questions on this yet? Anybody got any comments about looking at the test? Has everybody looked thoroughly at the test? So here's a basic test. And the interesting thing about basic is it's a little bit different. I've got one right here to read off from, which is a little easier for me to read. The test confirms. So before it was introducing something, now it confirms that the horse is supple and moves freely forward in a clear and steady rhythm, accepting light contact with the bit. The horse demonstrates a greater understanding of the aids and calm acceptance of the bridle. Greater emphasis is placed on relaxation, willing cooperation, harmony, rideability, and pure gait. The horse is beginning to develop more impulsion and balance. So that's a little bit of a different description as opposed to what we just looked at, to provide an introduction, and the rider should demonstrate correct position, use of basic aids, and understanding of figures, and the horse should show relaxation, harmony, and it should accept the aids of the rider. And it should accept the influence of the rider, and it accepts the aids and the influence of the rider. And here it says it's confirming that the horse is supple and moves freely forward in a clear and steady rhythm. Now, bit for us is a euphemism for the bit, bridle, reins, because you might be in a bosal and you may be in a bitless bridle. But we're beginning to talk about the fact that the horse is stretching forward to some kind of connection. And in dressage, there's that word contact. But for us, and in Western Dressage, and I'm right in front of the training wheel, so I'm going to move over a little bit. And then you're going to see, if you look over to my little picture right there, you know, the third spoke of that right there, it says connection. And we keep using the word connection because we do allow people to ride in a curve, ride in the snaffle, ride in a bitless bridle, be in a bosal. And we're expecting the horse to give a little in the pole and the jaw and be supple and to carry itself forward. But we're not saying, we're not using the on the bit phrase that is so common and so prevalent in dressage, because they always have a bit and we don't always have a bit. But it is the same concept of the horse being willing to move forward to the connection and to come into a balance so that you can steer and negotiate the test. I always say to people when they come to me, you know, in intro, there's really sort of only 3 things for me to judge, because I'm trying to make it simple for them. In a very simplified, big way, I say to them, I'm going to judge how forward your horse is, how active it is. How did you do with the walk and the jog? And I'm going to judge how connected it is. You know, do you have a horse that it's above the bit, or it tends to get round in your hand, or it just kind of gives you a nice contact and it's in a really long frame, but it travels forward nicely. And the big picture in the last part is the accuracy of the test. And, you know, if you think about it, that's these first 3 spokes, you know, the horse is in the walk and the jog. So that's the rhythm. And we make sure that we don't ever damage the horse. And we always want to have a correct rhythm. We want the jog to be 2 beat and the walk to be 4 beat, lope to be 3 beat. Then is it relaxed enough to get around the test? Is the horse pretty happy with that? And is it relaxed enough in its muscles so that you can steer it around? Right below me is the 3rd little spoke, which is the connection. And the horse has to be able to accept the aids of the rider, the bit in the hands, in order for you to steer it. And that becomes the geometry, which is very simple in intro. It's big 20-meter circles, turns to the center line, quiet halts, and nothing. You have really no skills asked. You're not asked to back or side pass. So I have no big skills. So I just have the forwardness, the balance connection, how much on the bit the horse is, and the geometry of the test. And if you look at it that way, you go, oh, that's sort of like 33% each. And that becomes important. Like I say to people, don't mess up the center lines because there's two of them. Try to get your halt square if you can. And people say to me, well, that's so hard to do in the saddle. And what if it's a really green baby horse? And I go, well, whatever happened to haltering? You know, we used to do showmanship before I could ride. I had a 2-year-old horse when I was 10. I really couldn't ride it. I was too little. I wasn't big enough. The horse was too young to ride, but we were showing it in halter and doing showmanship. And so you can get those horses square in hand and then give them a signal, you know, and luckily we get to talk to them and touch them. And it's not like dressage where you can't even speak to them, and you can give them a cue and say, hey, square up, square up. So all of those things in these beginning tests are really important, and you can accomplish a lot and improve your performance in paying attention. Like, do I actually get on the center line? Do I get my horse square? So these tests are similar, but just a little bit different. And down through here, through the directives, you'll see, again, things like the half circle, horse willing to freely stretch the neck forward and down, relaxation, swing through the back, ground cover, straightness, willing smooth transition, balance and bend in the corner, regularity and quality of the walk. The one thing that's really important to pay attention to in a test is that here's the line of where I begin judging. Right here, there's a line and it says enter working jog. And the judge begins judging right there. And this box, whatever happens until the next line, whatever's below the next line, everything that happens until this first sentence in the next box happens gets put into this score. So for example, if you get down the center line and you're at G, which is before C, and the horse shies at G before you turn left at C, that shy goes in this box. So in this box, you're trotting along and it says track left in the working jog. And that goes up to E, where you turn off the wall and you turn into a circle. And so somewhere along there, maybe somebody with a baby carriage comes, the horse jumps to the left and even circles on you. So it shied and it circled on you. Okay, that mistake is going in box 2. The tough part about a circle might be that because you circled, that can be considered an error of test because you did not maintain the pattern. So that's something to consider, that anytime that you leave off the pattern, you can be in an error. For example, I was teaching judging online this weekend, and I had somebody who came in and saluted in the beginning, but got down to the end of the test down here and forgot to salute. And that was an error of test -2. So the first time you have your first error, it's 2 points off, and it goes in this little box over here on the left down under errors. One error is -2 points. The second error, if you make a second error, that point is -4 points. So if you have 2 errors, you have a total of 6 points off. If you have 3 errors, you're eliminated. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, errors are not the end of the world. It's not like being DQ'd, like, you know, eliminated from like some in a jumping contest. If you missed a fence, you're out. You know, you don't place at all. You're DQ'd, disqualified. But here, it's just a mistake and it's taken off unless you have 3 of them. But the mistakes can be things as simple as I forgot to salute. This part about the saluting, the salute is real important, and we actually have a attached a link about saluting, about how to do a Western dressage salute or how to do a correct salute, because we have a lot of people that put their hands towards us like a handout. We have people doing military salutes, they're doing salams, bending, bowing. We have a lot of stuff going on, and we have one that will show you in about 6 or 7 minutes with a little comedy about hey, what a good salute looks like. So that's a great link for you to do. So how we doing on some chat, Dana? You got any questions so
I
far?
do, yes, I do have a question. So one of the questions is, the free walk is always double coefficient. How are the other moves picked to be double?
Wouldn't we like to? It is the test writing committee that decides that. And they don't always tell us, okay? So I'm just going to be real honest with you, because sometimes I look at it and I'm a judge and I'm going, okay, who thought that up? Which colleague was that, But for sure, one of the reasons that walk always is because you only have, in every test, you hardly have more than 1 or 2 walks. And you usually jog 3 or 4 times and you lope in both directions. And usually in a dressage type of test, Western dressage or English dressage, you do walk and then you walk across the diagonal. You change direction walking. And so if you only have 1 walk sequence, they put a ×2 on it because you don't jog 2 or 3 times and you don't canter or lope 2 or 3 times. So that's why walks are emphasized. But a lot of the other movements have things to do with, they want you to learn this skill and they think this skill is important, or this is one of the first times that this skill has been introduced and they want you to pay attention to it. So it's sort of like a teacher that says, hey, extra credit if you get this one right. And that is how it goes. I will say this, there are some things that they get into committees and they start chatting about, and they say, the last time we wrote the test, we emphasized this, and, we feel like people are really well educated in that. And now we'd like to, get them to pay more attention to, maybe like accuracy. Like, let's say that you could put a ×2 on the center line if you thought that people were getting really slack and they weren't being super accurate. And so it has to do with that, talk about things. And one of the ways that they decide is that they are looking at these purposes that are at the top of these tests. They're looking at that purpose box and saying, hey, this is important at this level. So it has to do with that. But the walk is because there isn't so much walk in each test. And the walk, of course, for the horse is very important. It's one of the easiest gaits to misperform. I see it misperformed a lot. One of the things that we want to talk about is the connection and the frame. And thank you all. I don't know who these are. So please, nothing's personal. We're just looking at beautiful horses and riders. And we asked you, hey, can y'all send us in some pictures so that we can look at different connections of horses and how they're going. So I think this is the same guy. Here he is all ready to go in the show. And here he is maybe at home having some fun. And it's really fun to look at the same horse and go, you can clearly see that this horse was stepping right along and being really active right here. Like you can see that he's reaching forward with his front legs. He's pushing off with his hind legs. This is a nice long connection for intro. And, again, I'm just going to read off the top of the paper that the horse will have relaxation. Well, his muscles look relaxed. He doesn't look tense. He's kind of happy. The gentleman looks happy and balanced, and things look like they're going along well. And the horse accepts the aids and the influence of the rider. Now, here he is at home, the same horse, and luckily side 2 and in the same position for similar. But at this moment, he was having a little saunter. This horse was having a little saunter. And you can see that this horse is not reaching so much forward. He's in an okay connection, and the rider isn't quite so much in alignment. He's a little bit further back. He was probably thinking about going in the barn or heading home or whatever. But, right here in the ring, they got this beautiful picture of him sitting right up and looking. And this is the same horse in a beautiful intro balance, accepting the connection. And the horse is just not quite so active right here. Nice active photo right here. So, but this is a balance of an intro horse, which is totally acceptable, and quite likely, very quite likely for us. So kind of cool. Thank you, whoever sent this in. We're very happy to see it. You know, it's very interesting to see people select all different kinds of outfits to wear. And for me, for a gentleman, you know, this guy's got this beautiful gray hat going on with the gray chaps, nice gray shirt, and on this beautiful horse, which this is not a loud outfit. And you will hear me, I'm the terrible fashion police, but outfits are very distracting to the judging sometimes. And there's a lot of movement with stuff that flaps around. And this is a good show outfit for this gentleman. And he looks all put together and like he's really paying attention and serious and concentrating. And I think this is a beautiful horse. So great. Thank you for sharing that. That is super cool. Oh, went the wrong way. So sorry. I'm gonna get my buttons right. Okay. Looks like a beautiful pink. Nice horse. So here's another connection. And, you know, our assumption for this might be that this horse might be a little possibly more advanced horse that has come into the intro class. And that's another thing when a horse and rider come in, I have no idea why they're there. It could be something as simple as the rider, you know, has injured something and can't lope. I mean, it might not be about the horse, it might be the rider. Could be a beginning rider, could be a beginning horse, could be a horse that's recuperating, could be somebody that's never been in this level before. Oh, and this is basic. Okay, glad she put that on there. Thank you. So let me go back to basic so we can look at the basic horses. Here's a beautiful mule. Nice job. Okay, now we asked people if they would give us different moments within their balance. So one of the things that we're looking for, you know, this horse has tremendous scope, and you see how much reach this horse has. You know, he almost steps on himself. It's an amazing horse equine. Sorry, I'm not used to mules, but boy, this is a beautiful animal. Gosh. So here you can see this thing is propelling itself forward. It's reaching forward with its neck. It's giving in the jaw a pull. It's really soft. Same thing here. This picture is a little obscured for us, but I'm going to move my little people over. So if your people are in the way, pull them out of the way if you can. Now, here's interesting. In this particular moment, something caught the mule's attention, I think, and then up with the head. So you see how this is just slightly hollow in the top line? And we get this a lot with, you know, something catches a horse's eye and for a few moments, and the judge is going to write, could be rounder to connection, slightly hollow top line, slightly bracing. So when you get the comments at this level that say slightly bracing in the top line, this is it. And for me, if I had to pick between this picture on the left with the purple shirt and the picture on the right, it would be interesting to ask this rider if this is a later picture. And I'll tell you why I think maybe, because this animal, in my opinion, has developed more top line and is stronger in the muscling over the shoulder and the haunch here. So is this a spring picture, or is this a picture from a year ago when the horse, this mule is very active still, and it's a beautiful picture. But for me, this horse, this equine is developing strength, and these muscles, I keep hitting things, ladies, sorry, my apologies, is developing more. And one of the things we're seeing is, I don't know if y'all can see it, which is really interesting, but right here, this is beautiful. It's nice round top line on a horse or a mule. But now it's still there, but now you see this definition, that is from engagement, that muscling right there. And so I'm looking at this going, I don't know, is this the spring and the horse wasn't completely legged up and, you know, like this is at the end of this is at Whirls. Is this gal with us today? Because this is amazing. We'd love to talk to her.
Yes, that the top middle photo is like my first show. The right in the black was like in the spring, February, and then yeah, the purple shirt is at the World Show. So that's at least like 6 months of consistent riding.
Lauren, good job. You gave us phenomenal pictures. Thank you so much. This is great. Really, really great to see this. Now, do you mind if I just talk one more thing? Because you gave us some amazing pictures. You're comfortable with all this? Because this is a beautiful horse. So you've done a great job showing us good moments.
Yeah, no, I don't mind at all.
So here's an interesting thing. I'm trying to get us out of the way so you can see this. But I'm going to put it over here for the moment. Okay, we're going to put you over there. Okay, so this is probably somewhere in the middle of the season, somewhere, is my guess, with Lauren. And you know, we begin to talk about in intro, we have a lot of horses come in that are in what we call a horizontal balance, which is this right here. Okay. Or here. And you know, what we want is we want the horse to think forward or even the pull, like when Lauren moves along in basic or comes up to first level, this horse, this mule is going to come a little bit more like this. She's going to keep coming more and more and more uphill, this beautiful mule. But earlier in the season, this horse at this moment right here is still in a level balance, but can you see it's a little bit balanced downhill, just momentarily. And that isn't a bad thing. And we have a lot of horses that come in this just slightly downhill balance. Our goal is to get the horses to be more propelling from behind and pushing up through their thoracic this way. And right here, you can see from the muscling that the horse doesn't have the strength to push so much. And the thoracic, you can see the development of the muscles here, and even right here. These are some of the thoracic muscles that are under her girth, which I know her leg is obscuring it, but I know that y'all can see that that is missing on this horse here, and it was missing here earlier in the season. This was not all legged up. And so here's the horse in almost the same balance, but it's just ever so slightly downhill. In Western dressage, you know, this is not deadly. It's not the end of the world. Like, the difference in this, if everything else in the movement in a test goes right, you know, this is a 7. This horse right here at this moment, that's at least a 7.75. It's not a bad score right there if that horse was moving and everything went well. But when you see the horse in intro become this active and that forward, it definitely jumps to 7.5 and 8 if the horses begin to go uphill. And that's when the people, like, once in a while, you'll see in intro somebody get like a 75 and 80, and you're thinking, well, how did you do that? Because the horse got legged up and became active and is tracking up or over tracking, and the back is swinging. And is Lauren still there? I bet this mule probably really trucks along, doesn't she? Is it Lauren?
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed. I know. Is it a she?
It's a she. Yeah, she has a lot of power, but in the beginning, we got a lot of needs more energy, so we've been working real hard.
Okay, and you're working to keep her uphill, I bet. You're working to
very
develop
downhill in the beginning.
Okay. And so that is really cool that you can talk to us about that, because that is so cool. So those are amazing. Thank you, Lauren. That was so cool. Okay, we're going to go back to, I think I'm going to go backward, or maybe let's see, go forward and see what else we have here. This is an intro. Okay, someone was kind enough to identify that it's a thoroughbred. And so, here's an interesting thing. Here's a horse that is, soft to the bridle and it's giving, but you can see the power difference between the mule and this horse. And this horse probably has a lot of talent to just really walk and jog right along, but isn't utilizing it because the steps are short here. So this horse looks to me like it's very capable and probably has amazing gaits. And the interesting thing is it has a really great rear end and has pretty good angles, behind. So the guess here about this horse is if everything went well, the judges are saying, wow, we really like the connection. If the accuracy went well, the judges would be saying, wow, real pretty horse, horse and rider look capable, show more impulsion, work on the ground cover in the walk. The tricky part for us in Western dressage is that many people come in and from Western divisions, or even if they come in from like dressage or some other division of English, some version of English, but they decide they want to ride with us, there's the misunderstanding of pleasure jog and pleasure walk. And pleasure jog is very short steps and it's very slow, and the horses' necks are really downhill. And that's what they want in those divisions. They want jog so slow that the riders don't move in the saddles at all. But that isn't our division. Western dressage, working jog gets you from ranch to ranch, and you have got to move along. And biomechanically, the interesting part about it is that when these horses don't track up at the jog, when they don't, and when a horse doesn't track up by a little bit, an inch or so, that's no big deal. I'm talking about not tracking up, 4 to 6 inches, not tracking up in the jog. When that happens, you're going to be really slow getting to town. Your horse is moving really slow, but biomechanically, the horses' backs are tight, which means that if their back is tight, they may have set their head for you, but their neck is rigid. So when we go back here, I'm going to slide around on my own little thing here. Remember rhythm? It begins to affect the rhythm if the horses begin to short track so far that they prematurely put the feet down in the jog. And sometimes you'll see pleasure horses in the Western pleasure division, the jog is actually no longer 2 beat because they prematurely put the feet down. And if you stop a video, you'll see, gee, that horse has 3 feet on the ground in a diagonal gait jog, or it should be a diagonal gait, and it isn't. And you'll be going, wow, that's bad, because that's the first rule, don't ruin the rhythm. Second rule is relaxation, which is not just about the horse being happy, but it's about, are their backs supple? And when horses take such short steps, their backs are very tight and their necks are just rigid. This horse looks emotionally relaxed with this rider, and this rider looks happy and confident, and her alignment is pretty good. She has, of course, the fashion police. She has a real quiet, pretty black and white outfit that's pretty on this dark horse, so I like that. And my guess is that her papers say, hey, we need you to have a little more activity and a little more energy. So we have to keep in mind, intro and basic, that the working jog and the working walk cover ground. And this is like getting from one ranch to another. You've got to get to town and you can't lope, and you need to get there soon. So you need to work your horse. Like, think about trail riding, long steps, big long steps. And that's where you want to go with this. And that's kind of a problem in intro for us. So, and she said, this is a thoroughbred. So I'm thinking if we get this horse moving, that it is going to cover ground, because thoroughbreds, gorgeous horses, and they're doing great in Western dressage. We have beautiful thoroughbreds doing a great job. So this horse has a really nice set on neck. It has good conformation. It looks happy. one of the things here is at the moment in this picture, it might just be the angle of the photograph, but it looks a little bit more uphill. Like we kind of want the pole to be above the withers, and we will accept it if it's level. But right here for this moment, it's pole drop just a little bit. So just a little tiny bit, the downhill thing. And we're always working for level or uphill. It's always our goal. Downhill is never our goal. And we always say to people when we're trying to teach them, the only time I want your pole below the withers is in the free walk and the stretch circle. Otherwise, we're hoping to have the pole at least at the height of the withers, which it is here. You know, it's got a little crest here, but and then the pole should be the highest point if we could be. But right here, it dipped the hair down for a second. Sometimes it happens, like I don't know if they were taking, she was taking in a transition and maybe the horse was compressing a little bit at that moment, because if it happens for only just like a moment, it's not the end of the world. But if the whole test is like that, it's just tiny deductions going on, and the judge is writing, needs better balance, think about energy. And when you're seeing those comments, they're just trying to say, hey, you know, we want to encourage the horse to work more off the hocks, get this really athletic rear end. This horse is going to step down right under its stifle. And when a horse works really well, they step past their own stifle. We're wishing that this leg was going to set down way up here. And when this leg swings forward, we want it to step forward more. So having more separation of the hind legs like this, he was a little more forward there, is a good thing. So these are great pictures. Thank you so much for sharing with us, because this helps us. It educates our eye. So thank you, thank you. What a beautiful, beautiful pair and a gorgeous thoroughbred. Lovely. Okay, let's see. I forget which way to go. Let's try forward. Oh, someone was so kind. I asked if people would be willing to send us pictures of hollow top lines or inverted, because when you get your test paper back, the word inverted is really hard for people to understand, but we need to use this technical word. It goes, oh, there's a deer, or something startled it and it takes off. But when they're going upside down like this, they do the giraffe thing. That's inverted. Now, this horse is also above the bit a little bit and a hollow top line. So if you would get a test back and say that, this is what you're seeing, is that you see this horse's back is truly down. And so this rider is going to have to do some circling and some transitions and some suppling, and keep asking this horse to work forward from here, forward to the hand, and then drop your neck and come around, because it's this part of him, you know, his neck needs to go like that in order for him to stretch forward and pull up his thoracic. So thank you for sending hollow top line and inverted, so that we could get a really good, not just look at only good photographs, because when you're looking at intro at a real show, this is going to happen. I'm going to change a few slides, but Dana, how are we doing? More questions?
I don't have any other questions right now.
Go ahead and type, folks, if you have comments or questions, because we want you to join in. So please do. And we can unmute you if we can. Here's a beautiful intro basic Mustang. So it's going both levels. And you can, oh my gosh, what good pictures. So here's, I think, progression. I think this is progression, maybe. Here's some of the first tests where the horse looked really like an intro horse, kind of this really long connection, but she's got you know, the horse is reaching into the bridle, and you can see that the horse is pretty active from behind. Now, our rider is eager here. She's a little eager. So you see her, she's sitting forward, but you know, who knows? I mean, maybe it's a green moment, or, you know, maybe something caught her attention. But by the time she gets to her last photograph, check this out. I mean, that's a really good change. And here in the middle is she's still sitting forward a little bit, but I'll bet you anything that her coach and equitation help is going, hey, sit back. And she's about halfway back, which is really, really great. And now the horse is more balanced. So can you see from the back to the front? And this horse is beautiful. This is a beautiful connection for a basic horse because its poll is above its withers and it's giving in the jaw and pull, and it has connection. Now that's the other thing too. People ask me, well, hey, I'm in a curb. How come I can't, check half halt? But Western people come in and say, check. Can I check up my horse? You don't want to check it. Can I half halt the horse and then have my rein soft? Yes, you do not have to ride onto the curb and be retracting, pulling back on the curb all the time. But this gal's got a snaffle in here. So her connection is more like we would think of a traditional dressage horse because she's riding onto a regular snaffle. So she is very correctly riding this horse actively forward, and the horse is pushing forward and is coming up through the top line. And you see, this is, here's the intro. Here's an intro frame. And then what if this was the first show and this was the last show at intro? She'd be moving up in her scoring for sure. For sure. And then here's this horse is now at the end of basic, and this is a connection for basic 4 headed towards level 1 right here, this headset. And now we can really see this horse has a really great V here. It's, look at the separation of the hind legs. Wow, that thing is pushing. This horse pushed, and look how far it pushed. That's amazing. And look at the reach in the front. This horse has pretty good reach, but that's more reach than this reach. And she's going forward, she's covering ground. And so this frame is going to, and balance and connection, if her test is accurate and she maintains this through her basic, this is a 70 to a 75 outline if everything goes well. This is a 70 to a 72, and this is a 65 to a 60 something in basic. So it depends on whether you're in intro or basic, where you're at here with how much push and how much balance you have. And this horse, if it would keep this up and could do the movements in level 1, this is what level 1, test 1 and 2, this is the connection. That's why this gal has this connection, was she's at the end of basic getting ready for level 1, and here she is. So these were amazing photographs. Good job. Shows a clear progression, and not only in the horse, in its connection, in its pushing. I think the muscling is coming on this horse, and then on the rider's development. So that's good. And my only suggestion for this rider was work on your hands should be right in front of the horn and around the swell and super close together, like super close together and in front of the swell. Because as she comes into level 1 movements, it's so complicated, the movements, your hands have to be in front of the swell. They're very close together in preparation for level 1 and level 2. But wow, what a nice progression. Thank you so much. Is this gal here?
Yeah, Ida, that's me and my Mustang.
That's you. Oh,
Yeah.
Dana, what we're talking about. What? Dana, good job. Yeah, so your instructor
you.
was telling you, sit up, sit up, sit up.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a progression, and you were right on track with like what we went through, like the start, the middle, and where we're kind of at right now is that last picture.
Right here.
Yeah.
And you must be beginning to work on level 1 exercises.
Yeah, that would be the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you can keep this connection and do all of the basic tests, you should press right along, and start on the exercises tomorrow. That's good. You're ready. Looks great. And it's if you look at this, if you draw a line at that horse's withers, it's good. This is uphill. So that's good. But this is amazing. This separation of the push of the hind leg is really good on that horse. So not a nice Mustang. Wow, great job. Okay.
Thank you.
That was really cool. Okay, now these are the Tennessee Walkers, and Tam's, I know Tam's here. And some of this is Tam riding, and Wolf and her husband. So nice. So let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, pulled it backwards again. There you go. Okay. Let's start here. So this horse, if you look at it, you know, he's bouncing along. He's taking some connection. He's got, you can tell he has a lot of energy. And we've got our rider sitting really well upright and looking ahead, which is great. Like to see riders looking ahead. Tam's looking ahead here. This is all very good. Right here, I really like her hands are really close together. You getting your hands around the horn and around the swell and together allows the horses to come more through their own musculature. Your half halt can be a lot more subtle. They can be softer. You can have lighter connection. So that's, we call that triangulating the forearms because you're getting your arms closer together. And so Wallace on this horse, is that Wolf?
That's Timber that he's
That's
on.
Timber. Okay, Wicked, his show name Wicked Wolf. So I think of him as Wolf or Timber, but Wolf and Timber. Okay, so there's Wallace, Tam's husband, on him. And that, now was that an intro, Tess?
That was they were that was 21. And
I'm
he
thinking,
wrote him, that was his first time competing there, and he wrote him an intro. And I showed him that year as well, but Wallace wrote him. That was his first year competing in Western Dressage. Wallace's.
I'm having the feeling that if his test was accurate and this horse was in that balance with that energy, that test scored well.
He did. He had two tests that scored really, really well, and two that he was kind of a soup sandwich in his geometry. It was first year jitters. And
Yeah, well,
we've all been there.
But
I mean,
you know, there's
he
three
did a great
things.
job, but his 20-meter circles were more like 16-meter circles. And
Right. Well, it's like we said, there's just about an intro and basic. There's about three things to judge, and one of them is accuracy, and then there's the balance and the energy. And you can see this horse is pushing like crazy.
Yes.
Like, look at the length of the stride, and then the horse is clearly soft to the bridle, and he's uphill. You know, so you're going, okay, well, that's got to score well, unless, you know, the last thing is if you don't do the stuff, if you mess up the stuff, you know, the circle's egg-shaped or the halt
Right.
or it's crooked, you know, at the halt and you got the haunches around to the side. Well, okay, then the scores drop. But this balance would do really well. Now, this is a different horse, Tam, or that is that
right, that's Doll.
that's the mare.
The black
Yeah.
baby's mother. That's his
Okay.
mare.
You can see this horse has a lot of push. She's got tremendous muscle through here, which is amazing. At this moment, now she was in a basic, was she?
No, she was intro that year. That was the same
Okay.
year Wallace
Yeah.
showed Timber.
Yeah. Well, you know, she's got a nice soft neck. I'm thinking that she did well in this balance. You know, going forward, I'd be like, okay, I would like her to be a little more uphill. You know, amazingly enough, here's the baby over here.
Yes.
Move us. Oh, I keep doing that. Sorry, folks. I go to move our pictures out of the way because I don't know where they are for you guys, but I'm trying to move them around so that, oh, I keep hitting the button somehow. See if I can drag this somewhere. There we go. I was trying to get it off her. Here's the youngest horse, which is T-Rex. And it's interesting. He's pushing from behind, but not reaching so much with the front as the more advanced horses. But
Right.
in connection, his nose is forward. You know, he is uphill and he's moving along. I love his eye. He looks, for a young horse, we don't know that he's 4, but I do. But if you were just judging him, you wouldn't know that. Although I do think on this horse this year that you could see that he was young because they look kind of rangy and their muscles are not developed and round like these mature horses over here. So he looked kind of rangy like a puppy. And
Right. That was one of his first shows of of last year, he was very, very green to showing then. And that was the beginning of the show year. Hardly any muscling.
Nice intro balance though for this horse. You know, this is a really nice outfit, very quiet, well put together, shows up good in the ring, but isn't distracting to the judge and is very tasteful. This is a good outfit on this horse. Easy to look at and not distracting. It doesn't take my eye away from the horse. I don't focus only on the clothes, which is good. So this is an interesting set of photographs, and it's interesting to see how the Tennessee walkers move a little differently. And they're in a still photograph. But the interesting thing is the reach on Doll. The front end reach, because the hind end reach on these horses is always amazing, but the front end reach on horses makes quite a little bit of difference in Tennessee walkers. So wonderful pictures. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Here you are looking up and in good alignment, hands close together, whip across the thigh, which is the correct positioning of the whip. So this all looks very put together for this group. So good job. Nice photographs. Whoops.
Right.
Way. Now I passed by somebody that was at basics, so I want to back up to them because I didn't mean to be rude. I'm coming back to you. Oh, this lovely paint. Okay, so I wanted to get to some other horses before I came back to that, so please don't be offended. And the reason I wanted to was I was trying to point out to people how much reach horses have, and I thought I can't start with this one because this one has amazing reach and good propulsion, and I need to show them some different horses before they see this one so they can appreciate this. Once again, look at the muscling on this horse, and that isn't just quarter horse. There's definition there. But you'll see a lot of quarter horses that just have a nice big round, but what you don't see is this and this, which is how they take weight through the SI, the hip, and the stifle, and then propel themselves forward. And this horse is making ground covering strides, and its jog, it is clearly tracking up in the jog, which is, let's be clear about that. It's not required. It doesn't say anywhere in our rules it's required. But if you get your Western dressage horses to track up, you will be rewarded. And that means that you're on the higher echelon of scoring. So, people come in and they say, well, I want my jog to be slow. And I'm like, it doesn't say in this test slow anywhere. It doesn't say slow. Why'd you get the idea jog was slow? And they're like, well, Western jog is slow. And I said, yes, pleasure class. And this is pleasure. It doesn't say pleasure at the top of this. And then do you remember it said effectiveness of the rider's aids and cultivating athletic expression. That's an intro. Athletic expression. I think this horse has athletic expression. Wow, wazers. And we've seen some beautiful, all of our horses have been quite expressive, but that's why I passed by this horse first, because I wanted to have something else to show you before I showed you this one. So now it's in a very level balance. And the only small criticism I would have is this picture right here. If the whole test went well and the horse was accurate, this horse probably got 75, 75, 75, 75. I mean, big scores. Probably got a 75, 76, 77 on the test. The only thing is I think this horse could have an 80. And how would I do it? I would relax just a little tiny bit here, and I would let this pole go to here. So its neck would go like that. And when this horse's neck goes like that, it's going to be ready for level 1 because it'll be uphill. And right now, I think the test, I would write all over this horse's test. Gorgeous, fantastic, lovely, athletic, quiet rider. I think the only thing we might say is she's a little eager. We saw that before, maybe in Dana, but We might like to get her just a little bit more right here. Just, I'm not even going to tell her exactly to sit back, but I'm going to get her to get a little more centered in her saddle. But I mean, this is still a lovely rider. She has decent alignment, and look how pretty her hands are. She's right around the horn, right around the swell. So this
This
is
horse,
all beautiful, beautiful.
Ida, this picture was taken a few years
Yes.
back. This horse is
Oh,
now
okay.
in two.
So it came uphill.
Oh,
And-
yes.
And if it's at level 2, then you utilize this beautiful, beautiful motor. So, okay, well, okay, is that Kim? Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Oh, thanks for talking to us. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a talented horse. So, if these horses in this level go like this a little bit more, they, they move into those really big scores. But at the moment, if there's 3 things to judge, the rider's beautiful, she's being pretty and in line and beautiful close hands together. And then this horse is really, whoops, I did it again, what I call trucking. This horse is trucking. And I love that. And then, so now comes the horse's balance, how uphill it is. It's definitely headset. It's definitely soft to the bridle. It's on the bit. And so it would only be a balance thing. So, I'm looking at this going, I think this test was a 75 to a 76 and probably set at the bottom. Lovely, carefully ridden, if everything else went well, it was accurate and worked for more uphill balance, because the horse is now at second level. Obviously, it does have uphill balance because that's where you went to get collections. So thank you for that photograph, because this especially was the part I really wanted to show people, although this is all interesting too. But we have a lot of horses that'll do this part, but to look at a quarter horse and see this right here, people or paint, people are not, they don't think about traditional Western breeds covering ground and having propulsion. And this is lovely. So thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hey, I guess I'm going slow, folks. I just looked at my watch. I understand if you have to go, but we got a few more just to show you, which we will, and see if you have any more comments. This is a lady that was riding. I have a whole series of pictures that are the same lady riding the same horse for us to play a little game. It's called Uphill Downhill. So be ready. Let's put thumbs up and thumbs down for uphill and downhill. So this is the same horse. Okay. So you look here and you go, okay, how's it going? How's it going? So are we thumbs up on this one or thumbs down? Top one. Thumbs up. Okay. How about this one? Pulls a little bit lower than the withers. Can you kind of feel like she's balancing downhill? You kind of see the rider looking downhill. I mean, in intro, this horse is still going to score well. This test scored a 69, that test right there. I have the test and the scores for this horse, so I know. This test scored a 72. Does that make sense to you? It's the same horse, same rider, and within weeks of each other. But this day wasn't as organized. Rider's not looking up so well, maybe not, balancing well. And so this test was a little more downhill. So that's kind of a 68 test. This kind of a 72 test. And the reason we put them in there was play this little uphill downhill game and say, hey, can you figure it out by looking? Okay, same horse. And we're doing the same thing again. Which one do we think? Which one is more uphill? First one? Second one? What do you think? First one, uphill or downhill?
First one uphill.
First one, right. Second one. Now, could you tell by anything other than the head and the neck? Because there's another, this particular picture, this set of pictures we picked out for 2 reasons. Anybody want to take a guess?
The way the tails drop down on the first picture.
Okay.
It's like it's really driving from behind.
Okay, but that's wind, I got to tell you. That was a windy day. This is wind. That's wind. But if you looked at the hind legs, were you looking at the hind legs? Say yes.
Yes. Yeah, and
Say
I was looking at the top of the tail. It looks like it's set, it's lower because it's rotated its hips forward.
Okay, all right. I go there with you. Good girl. Okay, yes. Look at the pushing leg. The pushing leg wasn't so active here, and shorter steps and better here. So better reach in the front. It's not exactly the same positioning in the picture for sure, but there's definitely more reach, more pushing here. So yes, good for you guys. You guys are doing great. You know your stuff. Okay, let's go see if we got anything else. Okay, uphill and downhill. What do we got? What do you think about this one? Uphill, downhill. That's the uphill picture. Here's sorry, it's so fuzzy, but you can see the downhill and you can see the rider kind of like looking downhill. Sorry, it's not a real good picture, but same horse and same rider and same outfit. So I was trying to get a similar picture to help you with that. Get this red scribbly stuff on here. I don't know where all that stuff came from. We're sitting there going, what happened? Okay, what's your feeling about these two? Similar? Different? Dana, what do you think? Got an idea? They're very similar. Maybe a little more uphill here. Looks like the rider grabbed the rein a little here, but quite similar for this horse. Maybe a little better pushing at the moment. So yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll go this way, this way, this way, and here we go. Okay, I want to talk to you about looking at horses dead on, straight on, because this is the same rider you just looked at on the same horse. And you can see, you frequently see horses come down the center line, and I can see the swell and the horn and the pad and the hands. That's downhill. And it must be really downhill because the head and the ears aren't covering any. And those are her cuffs. She's wearing some cuffs on this show shirt. So her hands are around the swell. So you know when a horse comes in, a judge can see, okay, it can't be too downhill because I can't see all that stuff. And amazingly enough, if you draw a line right up through this horse, that horse's head is just about perpendicular. And then this woman very nicely wore this shirt with a color down the front, which I tell people, don't do this, because if you're not absolutely even, if you don't have a 10, you don't want a line down the middle of you showing me that this shoulder's higher than that shoulder, or vice versa. So, but she helped us. She's got a line right through the center of her. And in this arena, because you can't see the letter A, she's obscuring it. And it's a pole that is right between that horse's hind legs, which is hard to see, but I know it's there. And so this horse is absolutely dead on the center line. The horse is bisected on the line, and the horse is totally bisected and face perpendicular. That's straight. And when you come down the center line, if you can get your horse not to have lateral pole flexion or neck bend, that is how you get a 10, that a horse on a center line to a halt does not have bend all the way down the line. It should turn onto the line with bend and become absolutely straight. She did get a very high score on the particular halt. When she got this stopped, it was square and she got an 8.5. But I thought, wow, it could, I might have rewarded it more myself, because I'm one of those people that give 10s on center lines. This horse, you've been looking at it intro with an intro rider. This is was a year and a half later, but this is now me riding that horse, level 5. And this is the lengthening jog. And look how far off the ground she is, and look at the propulsion. And this is, you see it now, if you draw level 5, you draw a line from there. Look how uphill that is. And that's what we're trying to teach you, that as you develop these horses, And we ask you to keep putting the muscle on them and keep doing the exercises and to keep sitting up and keep your act together. Keep them round to the bridle. And you draw a line from her withers, which now comes to her eyes. You go, wow, this horse is uphill. And she's just tiny little bit in front of the vertical, which is what we have in mind, that the horse reaches to the bridle. There either can be on the vertical or just slightly in front of the vertical is really rewarded. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. Or at a good moment. I'm not saying I'm that way every day. No horses, but caught in a good moment. And this is tremendous lengthening in the jog. So that's where we're going with this. Okay, any more questions? How are we doing? Did we, oh, here's our, what a pretty horse. Is that Dana's horse? Is that
Yeah,
the
that's him.
That's Mustang. For any of you that want to look up the elegant salute tutorial, it shows Western and English tack both and how to improve your center line. Both of those will help people starting off in basic and intro. And I'm hoping that we got some ideas of what the balance is going to be for all of you, or even answer some questions. So how are we doing, Dana? Have we got any questions?
I don't think we have any questions. Nope.
Cool. All right. Well, next time we're going to address, which is the first Tuesday at 7 o'clock, is we're going to review the numbers and go over what those are, rules that you need to know to start to get going. And we're going to take more questions. So we're hoping that people are going to write in and ask questions. But to get started, to review the numbers and figure out what they mean, and some of those, you know, things that are coming along. And I think we might combine 4 and 5 about judges' jargon. So we're going to go down through the test and review a little bit more with that. So that's next time. And be sure to invite people to join in. Any other questions or comments? We'd be glad to take them. Otherwise, I know I kept you over and I apologize. I'll let you go. But thank you for fabulous, fabulous photographs to look at. This was amazing. And I really appreciate the opportunity to look at you. Everybody looked great. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ida. This was great. Very educational as always.
We'll see you again soon. And thank you all. Thank you to Western Dressage Association for all of their information that they provided for us and graphics. And Dana, thank you for organizing all of this. And Tamara, thanks for letting us get this organized for you and for the group. We appreciate it. And until next time, ride safely and have a lot of fun. Take care and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.